Welcome to this Wait Fire YouTube video where today it's myself, Andy, and Ross. Right, there we go. And we are going to be talking about the brand new Deadzone Outbreak. Dun, dun, dun. So this is pretty exciting actually, I think, for those fans of Deadzone, isn't it? Yeah, so this is can almost be looked at as like a 2.1 version of Deadzone, because Deadzone 2.0 came on a Kickstarter about 3 years ago, and this is the first major update to all the factions that there's been.
It's like Windows 98 version 2.
Yeah, I guess so. There we go. But anyway, so it's a big change. It's going to change a lot of how it's going to change how people play quite a lot with the different factions, and yeah, it's going to be good, I hope.
I think it's going to be very good.
Yeah. So it's also tied in, of course, not only with this book release, which will be pretty much the first straight-to-retail book release for Deadzone that there's been. There's one other smaller expansion with the Nexus Sci expansion, but the others are all tied into the Kickstarter. So
stop all moaning about Kickstarters, because they're doing it.
So, you know, Deadzone by Mantic Games, for those who don't know, is a science fiction skirmish game. Uses an unusual sort of format in that it has sort of cube movement and true line of sight, which is a little unusual for science fiction games. But it's a very rapid and fast game, very bloody, and gives a good result and plays very quickly. And probably once you get the hang of the rules, which are not too complex actually, it takes about an hour to play, but it takes a long time to master, a lifetime to master, doesn't it?
It's like 4D chess.
So Deadzone Outbreak, like I say, it's like a 2.1 version of Deadzone. And cheers, by the way.
Not like Windows 98 version 2.
Not like Windows 98.
Windows XP.
Oh, that's a nice brew, that
is, isn't it?
Nice brew.
Lovely brew. The cooks make it so much better than right.
Ooh. So Deadzone Outbreak, one of the other key things is that not only is it rebalancing all of the factions from the core book, including a major update to the Veermin.
They're now good.
Yeah, so if you played the Veermin in the original core book for Deadzone, you'll have probably realised that
they were more space ponies than space rats, weren't they?
But they're a very much more viable faction now. Those who've been keeping up with Deadzone will know that they've been play-tested for a long time in the community, and this is their sort of final version in print for the first time, which should be good. But more importantly than that, we've got two brand new factions. What factions are they?
Well, they're good. You've got the Nameless and you've got Maison Labs. Yeah. They're amazing.
Yeah, they certainly are. So, maybe, do you want to tell us a little bit about the Nameless? What's your view on the Nameless?
Cthulhu-esque Gribblies.
Yeah, I think that's probably quite a good one. So they're sort of tentacly, aquatic-y sort of creatures. They're not
not
pure
hentai, but they're just more Cthulhu than when you say tentacly.
Well, yeah. They're not, a lot of people have said they're a bit Tyranid-like. They're actually very not Tyranid-like, because unlike Tyranids, who are just like an alien space race, yeah, they're intelligent, and they actually have armour and weapons and sort of bioengineered stuff using mechanical parts and creatures themselves. So they're much more a sort of, you might see an evolving alien race rather than, say, the Tyranids who just like tear a planet
more
apart.
Like the Mon Calamari and the Quarren from Star Wars than Tyranids, because they're sort of like aquatic.
I like that.
Like use organic technology.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's a brand new, fully fledged out faction. These were originally introduced in Star Saga, the sci-fi board game that Mantic Games produced.
It's a good game.
It is a good game. It's a great game. And but we've taken it a little bit further in the Deadzone, haven't they? There's extra models, and they've got brand new rules, so that you can not only take over your Star Saga models if you have that game already, but you can use the new ones. And there's new leaders, and there's new troops, and new specialists. So
and there's rules that are just for them.
Just for them. Some unique, brand new rules just for them. So that's the Nameless. They're going to be very exciting. And they're actually going to form the key part of not only Deadzone Outbreak, but the summer campaign that starts in August.
Is it, what planet is that? Is it Mariana?
No, Starfall.
Starfall was the campaign, it's on planet Mariana.
No, it's on Starfall. You haven't read the blogs, have you?
It actually says it's on planet Mariana in Starfall.
It's on Starfall. It's got I'm sure it's the start.
Okay.
And it starts on the summer campaign that starts on the 20th of August. Is going to run for 6 weeks, and it's going to be very good. There's going to be lots of opportunities to upload your results and influence the whole Warpath universe. And the Nameless form a key part of that because they are basically the instigators of the violence, which is why everyone else is going to be there and sorting out all their stuff. So, I'll have a little chat about the Maison Labs, shall I? So, the Maison Labs are also from Star Saga. So, they, if you have Star Saga, the core set, then you can get a Deadzone faction for free. How about that? Because that faction is, I won't spill the beans if you haven't got Star Saga yet, but basically it's a mixture of GCPS humans and other creatures.
Sorry, now I just spoil it.
Yeah. And so there'll be a very interesting way of playing because they're obviously quite shooty and quite weak with the humans, but there's a few extra cool bits in there from the other ones.
Very, very, very good. They're possibly my favourites of the two new ones.
Oh, right. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Secret there from Ross.
Sorry.
So yeah, I mean, I think you've got 2 brand new factions coming in this book, and then every other faction from the original core book has been rebalanced. A lot of those factions have gained new models as well, which is obviously always good. And certainly some rebalancing in points and victory points and so on. So that's the game should hopefully be a big, a big update and a nice refresh of how people play. Not necessarily the rules. The rules are staying essentially the same, but the way you play will hopefully be quite a lot different.
There's also new elite lists.
There are new elite lists. So there's a new elite list for every single faction. Every single one, with the exception of the Maison Labs, because they're sort of
They're like elite anyway, really. Aren't
yeah. So yeah, all of them, the Rebs, Marauders, Veermen, Enforcers, everyone gets an elite list in this book, which is going to be quite good. And again, that should change the way people play with certain factions. And for the I think the first time as well, some of those elite lists will be able to take models from different factions. So not all just from, say you're an Enforcer, not all just from the Enforcer list. Actually some other ones in there too.
And some familiar faces in there as well.
There are some familiar faces from the Warpath universe fluff. And there's a crossover with a lot of those characters as well into Warpath Firefight and Warpath, the 2 larger scale versions of a science fiction game that Mantic produced. So yes, hopefully it's tying the whole theme together from Deadzone Outbreak into the larger scale games of Firefight and Warpath. So what else is new in this game? There's a couple of other small things as well. So secret missions, there's new secret missions. So the original game had some secret missions that you could choose to play with.
That no one did.
Yeah, no one did, because they ended up being a little bit unbalanced. If you've got the right combo, it'd be a good fun game, but if you've got a bad one, then it might be impossible to achieve. What do you reckon to the new ones?
Oh, they're really good.
Really?
We've had a few games with them, and they completely changed the game. And it's the
Yeah.
fact that then they're fluid.
Yeah, and they're sort of reactive, aren't they? So you don't get the same thing for the whole game, so you can keep changing round by round what your secret missions are. And like you say, it does make you change the way you play. So there are, without giving any of the details out at the moment, you gain a victory point, for instance, for doing something that you could always do, but you might have chosen not to because it wasn't necessarily the perfect thing to do. But, oh, I'm going to get a victory point for it now, so actually I will do that, even though it doesn't necessarily kill a model or something, because you're going to score more points for it than you would otherwise. So, you know, I think the fact that you can do more things and they change round on round is what really allows you to sort of evolve the game in a different way to just a standard kill everything and grab the objectives.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I say, you know, we've had a good few games of that and they've been a lot of fun, and they
Really
certainly
fun.
make you play differently. You know, things that you would normally say, I don't know, jump a Terraton onto someone just to squash him, and actually think, I'm not going to do that today because actually I get more points for doing this instead, etc. Yeah.
There's also the change up to the items.
Yes, so there are some new items. So, what new items have we got? Can you remember?
Shock baton.
A shock baton, yeah.
Adrenaline shot.
Yeah. And a stimulant shot.
Stimulant shot. Yeah.
And one more. Testing your knowledge here, Ross.
Is it a bar of Bourneville?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. 4 out of 4.
The darkest of chocolates.
I don't know, have you never had Green and Black's 92?
Yeah, that's much better actually. Bournemouth's terrible.
Great tea, good cup.
Bad Bourneville.
I quite like Bourneville.
Yeah. But it's not Bourneville actually, it's Combat Knives.
That's the one.
That's the one. So we decided to add some extra items in as options. You don't have to play with them, so there are now going to be 4 different choices of options for what items to put down on the map at the start of the game. And you've got the standard ones, and then you've got 3 other different choices where you've got these other types available in there.
I believe that was because if you had an army like, say, the Rebs of the Plague, a lot of base towards shooting completely pointless unless you get an intel or something, or a medikit, and this actually makes it that the combat armies have now got a reason to go after items.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So when I used to play with Veermin, I'd actually not bother picking up any items because what's an ammo to something that shoots on a 7 or a 6 is absolutely useless. So
not with your dice, you roll 8 all the time.
True. Chances are it would be a booby trap or something like that. In fact, I've lost a game before now because I picked up an item as a booby trap I didn't need to pick up. I know. So yeah, that should hopefully be an interesting way for people to play differently. So another new thing is some of the abilities. So some had already been in the previous FAQ as being changed. So things like teleport, where if you were pinned, you couldn't therefore teleport. So therefore sort of suppressing or using rapid fire weapons on things like teratons became an incredibly powerful way of sort of neutering some of their effects. So that's official now in the Deadzone Outbreak rulebook. There's also a couple of other abilities which are also being adjusted to make, basically just because they got a little bit abused in a few cases. So fire control has a change to it, for instance.
God.
Yeah.
And also, ancestors.
It's the combination of our ancestors with 2 powerful weapons and good shoots, so that's the problem. And then there are some new abilities, of course, which we're not going to go into too much now, but there are new abilities to do with the Nameless, but not just the Nameless. There's actually a few other the factions that gain abilities as well, and we'll explain those when we come across them when we go through each of the factions in detail in a moment.
One other change that sort of links into abilities and items is pistols now are free.
Ah, yes.
Because dirty people like me took Zorax with pistols, and people taking cheap Asterian spam and then giving them all pistols, and they're very, very effective.
Yeah, and that's probably it wasn't that there was a problem with sort of spam or anything, but when the models are made, the points cost of the weapon that they come with is factored into their cost. So then if you sort of saw it with a blaster who has a weapon that doesn't do any damage, for instance, or the Cypher Warden who has a very short-ranged knockback weapon, again doesn't do much damage.
My Enforcer snipers that are heavy elves and also have pistols that can move and still shoot.
Yeah, so then gaining their... Well, he's slightly different because you buy the weapon separately, but the other ones come stock. So because that's on their base profile, they're cheaper because their weapons are less good. So therefore they're almost like changing them up for free with a pistol. It sort of breaks a mechanic on how that model was designed. So 1 point, there's never actually been anything that you could buy with 1 point, so it's quite nice for that 199 point list that you've got. You can now do a pistol to someone.
My list, basically.
Yeah. But it does allow us to sort of have a little bit more control of...
You also have to think who you're putting it on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just an auto-include.
So it generally is now your heavy weapons teams or... Yeah. And it's a better change because I did abuse that free rule, let's be honest.
That's what they're there for. That's the thing. These rules have only been adjusted because people have spotted where there are opportunities to sort of take advantage from that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what gamers do.
That's why we have playtesting.
Yeah. Right, so this Deadzone Outbreak book has actually been quite a long process because we recognised last year in 2017 that we needed to do something about this, and it was originally going to be just an update, and then it became a full-fledged book with these new factions. And that's required a lot of playtesting. So, I think, thank you very much everyone who's been playtesting for us. We're very valued.
Chin chin.
And I hope the community appreciates all your hard work, because it really is going to be a big change to how people play Deadzone, but I hope a very positive one. Missions. There are 4 new missions in this book and a rebalancing of the original 4 as well. 2 of them, Search and Destroy and Patrol, not really changed much at all, but Breakthrough has changed quite a bit. So now when you break through, with the model that gets off the board, you will get an extra victory point for that model, in addition to his actual normal victory point cost. So even taking a zombie off now gains you 1 victory point, whereas in the past it gave you 0. Scour as well has had a little bit of an update to again make it a bit more easy to score the points than you would normally have done. And there are 4 new missions, so that's Invade, Scatter, Divide and Conquer and Occupy. And each of those will play quite differently. Most of them make you play in different ways. So Divide and Conquer splits the board, so you have to go across different ways. Scatter splits your faction for where you deploy. Occupy pushes everyone to the centre. And Invade encourages you to push into the opponent's close to their deployment zone, so right across the board as much as you can. So if you play Kings of War, you'll recognise the name Invade from one of the games there, which is a similar sort of principle, which is where I actually stole it from.
You'll also recognise it if you've ever looked into a dictionary, because it's a real word.
Yeah. So, that's a brief overview of Deadzone Outbreak. Like I say, I think it's going to be a big change to how people play Deadzone, hopefully encourage a lot of people to look again at Deadzone. I mean, it really is a fantastic game, and Mantic have done a fantastic job in sort of almost relaunching it really with this 2.1. And to back it up, they've got their summer campaign, which is going to be a huge success, I think. So yeah, you know, please give it a go, see if you like it. It really will play nicely, and I think there's a lot more balance in the factions in general and a lot more options to play with. So we're now going to go and into series of separate videos where we talk about each of these factions in a bit more detail. And so please look at those and like, comment, subscribe, follow us on the
Hashtag Deadzone is life.
Hashtag Deadzone is life. Follow us on the Way to Fire YouTube video. Follow us on the Way to Fire YouTube podcast and Facebook page. And yeah, take care. Thanks very much.